Hello and welcome to Basspick Reviews, and in today's episode I'm going to be looking at CastAway. The plot, let me tell you, was intense. I say that a lot about certain movies, but honestly I found this plot so intense because of just the way you could see that how he was very caring towards people but still loved to work and was like pretty much married to his job, and then suddenly got thrown in this horrific situation where he didn't know what to do and was stuck on this island for, I think it was 4 or even 5 years he was stuck on this island. And the only thing I will give it slight criticism for was he wasn't really crazy, but yes, you could make the argument that he was talking to a volleyball, but he was full aware he was talking to a volleyball. The only thing I would criticize this movie for is that they didn't really show him go insane. They just kind of more showed him surviving, which is perfectly fine. Like, that's fine that he was surviving, but I'd imagine for being 5 years by yourself, you would go a bit crazy. And yes, like I said, he talks to a volleyball, but he's aware it's only a volleyball, it's not a person, if that makes sense. A better example I feel they could have done, it was in an episode of Twilight Zone where he was like a prisoner or something like that. This is like into the future kind of thing, and he was on another planet and they sent a robot to be his like companion, and since he finished up his sentence and whatever, he was thoroughly convinced that this robot was a person and was thoroughly convinced of it, and he wasn't going to leave unless they could take the robot with him. So the whole episode was him just trying to battle being told the robot's not real and him believing it's real. So I feel like what would have been better, I'm going to spoil it a little bit, is if he actually kept the ball, if he kept Wilson and then get told that it's not real, if that makes sense, because that would have shown how crazy he actually became. But that's a very slight criticism of the plot. The acting, 100% believable. I thought that this is how a person would actually act. I thought that the way he was incredibly smart when it came to dealing with using the utensils around him and using his knowledge of survival and all that kind of stuff was incredibly well written. It was incredibly smart, and it was very well acted. The cinematography was amazing. I really loved how each scene represented how he was kind of feeling, from going out into the water, from just looking around the island. And in all honesty, one of my favorite scenes was, I'm going to put up a bit of a disclaimer here, was when he's pulling out a rope and you could see that he was going to kill himself. Just the way that was shot was, it was him just pulling up the rope and seeing pardon me, what it was, because I loved how it was kind of dark lighting. I really liked how it kind of showed like, holy crap, but like desperate to get off this island, desperate to do something, and he couldn't do anything. And even later on when he starts to talk about that, he couldn't do anything. He had no power in this place he was in, and the cinematography really complemented that. The casting was perfect. I honestly don't know who would have done a better job than what Tom Hanks did. No, I honestly can't imagine who else would have done as good of a job as Tom Hanks did. But yeah. I think the only thing I had the issue was the woman who I think he was getting engaged to or something like that. I personally, nothing against her, but I just personally thought she could have easily been replaced with someone else. Like, she wasn't that memorable. And yes, granted, this movie is about Tom Hanks being stuck on this island, but for the few scenes she was in, I feel like she could have done a slightly better job to kind of remind you that he's got a wife or like a fiance or something, because the only times you kind of remember her is when he's flashing the light against her photo, and it's kind of like, oh yeah, he's still got someone who he likes. She's not really that memorable, if that makes sense. The script, non-existent, and when I mean by that, I mean that in the best way possible. There really wasn't that much dialogue in it. It was more him crying, getting angry, screaming, laughing, going crazy. It was like that. It was more, again, psychological than it was talkative, and I really like the saying show don't tell. This movie is a perfect example of show don't tell. In fact, I wish this movie would be shown in like film school kind of thing, particularly for like actors, how they have to portray this character going insane, getting upset, getting angry, and doing it with such a way that the audience feels like it's them. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I cried at this movie when he lost Wilson. I actually started to bawl my eyes out because got this almost connection with this ball, even though he knew it was only a ball. It was just so genuine. It was so real. It relied on emotions, and that is not a bad thing whatsoever. The fact that it relied on you wanting him to survive, on you wanting him to get off this island, on you wanting him to even get Wilson, on you wanting him to learn how to adapt, on all this kind of stuff. It was you wanting him to do this and feeling so excited and relieved when he finally did, and feeling devastated when he didn't. Would I watch CastAway again? Yes. And overall, I'm going to give CastAway a 9.5 out of 10. But this is just my opinion. Art is subjective, so don't be too protective. Basspick out.